Mr. Heavyweight Boxing today?
Hey, what's up, man? This is Chris, the Nightmare Ariola, and you're watching Mr. Boxing Today.
Heavyweight boxing fans, what's the deal? All right, man. So about 14 hours ago, I put up a poll. This is pretty much, the aftermath of Andy Ruiz and Luis Ortiz fight that Ruiz was able to win. Put up a poll asking you guys, man, who would win a fight, because Deontay Wilder was there. Just if that matchup is to ever happen, who would win that fight? 73% of you guys said Wilder, 17% said Ruiz, and 10% said, man, I'm not even sure who'll win that fight. All right. Now here's my thoughts about that fight. First of all, obviously Deontay Wilder needs to fight Robert Helenius first. That's first and foremost. You don't want to overlook opponents, man. I've never been big into overlooking opponents, but as fans, sometimes we just forecast and think about fights ahead. All right. So we all do that as fans. But you never want to look past an opponent, man, especially the fighter himself, all right? But let's just say Wilder is to fight Andy Ruiz Jr. I think I can have a better, okay, just put it like this. I'll have a better answer after the Helenius fight. But if Deontay Wilder is anything like the Deontay Wilder that I've seen in the past, I would favor him in a fight against Andy Ruiz. But let me break it down though, man, because it's not just that easy for me, right? One thing about Andy, and I said this when he was going into his fight with Joseph Parker. I actually did a video. It's called The Road to the Championship or something like that, Parker versus Ruiz. And in that video years ago, I was saying that Andy Ruiz is so susceptible to straight right hands. I mean, he fought Rafael Zambano. I remember he fought him on a Terrence Crawford card out in Omaha. I believe it was a fight out in Omaha. Wherever he fought Zambano. And bro, Zambano was just landing right hand after right hand. I mean, he was just tagging Andy. Not in a way where he was beating Andy, but the punch he was able to land successfully was a right hand, a straight one, over and over and over and over again. Now Andy, got the decision, outworked. Zambano was, banging him up, but still though, he was able to land right hands. All right. Even when AJ knocked down Andy and Andy got up, when that first initial knockdown, when Andy got up, AJ hit him with another huge right hand. Okay. In the rematch with AJ was using his jab, landing right hands and getting up out of there. Okay, so it's something. Even Ariola was tagging him with right hands. So Ruiz, it's just something about right hands. His whole career. I'm not saying it because it's Wilder. I'm saying his whole career. I was saying it's going into the fight with Joseph Parker. Okay. Another thing that I noticed is what Joshua did and what Ortiz was able to do. And I think Wilder would be able to do the same thing. And that's keep Andy at bay with the jab. Andy is a guy that likes to come forward, rip combinations. However, Andy isn't stupid. Like the fight with Luis Ortiz, I know he was waiting for, he was kind of being patient and being economical with his output at times because he didn't want to get lined up with a straight left counter. So, but although he was being patient, he was also getting a jab put in front of him to where it was kind of sullying his momentum, right? He couldn't just come forward like that. He had to kind of, move his head a little bit and then try to slip under a jab and get close. All right. Or let Ortiz let the left hand go and then try to counter Ortiz. That's what he was trying to do. All right. But I think Wilder will keep Andy. Look, man, it may be a situation where that fight, like the first 5-6 rounds, there's like nothing because Andy will probably respect Wilder and Wilder would use the jab as he's winning rounds and keep Andy at bay and throw some right hands occasionally and put some mustard on him just to keep him honest and to keep him out on the outside. Andy will have to just go all out in this one, man. Just sitting on the outside, just waiting. I think he can get jabbed all night and we may see Wilder win a damn decision. You know what I'm saying? The most the most unlikely outcome. It may be like a Stavern situation with that first Stavern fight with Ruiz throwing a little bit more punches than Stavern, but that's the same type of fight where one guy is just on the outside of a long ass jab. All right, now what are some of Andy's if look, put it this way, if Wilder has any type of wear and tear, any type of slippage or anything from them Fury fights and just his career in general, man, he's 37 years old, been in over 40 fights. A lot of them, damn near all of them, has been his victories with knockouts. You dig what I'm saying? But If there's any type of slippage and Andy can get past Deontay's jab and he can make it a mid-range fight, yo, man, yo, you're going to have to respect Andy Ruiz on that mid-range. I know he doesn't have the greatest head movement, but he will duck and roll some shots. To me, he's better at ducking and rolling mid-range than Deontay Wilder would be. And that's Andy's wheelhouse, man. You see, Ortiz wanted to keep on him behind the jab and catch him, like that. It wasn't like he was saying, hey, let's just have an inside fight. You know what I'm saying? So, and Andy would have the advantage in a mid-range fight with his hand speed and his body work. All right, but if he doesn't get in close or get mid-range, man, he may get pretty much what AJ was doing in that second fight, but Wilder's sitting down on right hands. And man, I'm telling you, the dude's susceptible to a right hand, and it's just hard for me to look around or look past Wilder just lining him up with a straight right hand and getting him out of there. I know that's just the generic things to say, right? Oh, Wilder with a right hand, but Andy is so susceptible to that one particular punch, and he gets kept at bay with the jab. Somebody that has a good jab, and Wilder has a pretty good jab, especially when he's snapping it and keeping it out there, and it ain't even got to land, but as long as he's doubling it up and just moving and feinting a little bit and just moving offline so Andy can't counter him, Andy may have a tough time. He may get outpointed in that fight. You know what I mean? And if he really just sits there and try to play that, just put my high guard up, Wilder gonna probably punch through that guard, man, and tag him with a right hand. But I will definitely give Andy a chance. And if, again, we'll see with this Helenius thing. If there's any type of slippage, Andy's chances go even higher. All right, because I'm talking about the Wilder that I know that can show up. All right, well, we'll see what he looks like against Helenius. But Ruiz is a tough motherfucker, man. I'm just, the dude's just tough, man. The dude is tough. I mean, you can say he gets dropped sometimes. He doesn't move his head offline. But, bro, he's getting up from some heavy hitters, man. Getting up and winning fights, man. He got off his ass against AJ and got him up out of there. You dig what I'm saying? He had to, pull it together against Ariola and win that fight. You know what I'm saying? Getting off the canvas, getting hurt, getting buzzed multiple times in that fight. You know what I mean? Luis Ortiz was landing some good shots that would usually put dudes down. And Ortiz was Andy was just eating them. Right? So, and as long as Andy doesn't come in at 285 or 290 or some shit like that, if he's around, the high 250s and the 260s-ish, he's his hand speed, his toughness, and Andy can cut the ring off better than most people think. Now, if you're just only moving, it's tough for anybody to cut the ring off. But if you just, a step to the side, because it's not like Wilder's going to be out there moving around like a prime Larry Holmes. He's going to use his jab, use his length, and take half and full steps backwards and stuff. But he's not going to be like, like a prime Ali, flicking a jab, as he's moving in a circle. He doesn't fight like that. You know what I mean? And if Andy can kind of mix up Wilder's footwork by bobbing and weaving and going to the side and getting Wilder to move his feet quicker than he would like, then maybe Andy can catch him with some type of counter while he's going to his body and bringing shots upstairs. All right, but if he can pressure Wilder, remember how Johan Duhaupas was able to do it? And some of you may say Wilder's a different fighter, better fighter than he was against Duhaupas. I'm just talking about the success. Well, some of the success that Duhaupas had was kind of like what Tyson Fury wanted to do. And that's just fight on the front foot. And I know Fury's fight on the front foot is a little different than Andy's, because Fury can bend at the waist by still maintaining his long reach as well, and long right hands and long shots that Fury can land, whereas Andy Ruiz, his wouldn't be like that. His be more trying to slip shots that he's coming forward, not so much slipping shots where he's trying to lean back but stay stationary with his feet and come back and counter. That's not how it's going to be. But if Andy can find a way to take away that jab, man, and if he can, stand up, and I'm not saying take right hands flush, but if he can catch some of them and roll with some of them to take some of the mustard off of them and then come back and counter when Wilder isn't ready to punch back, then you may see a problem. But just going off of both guys, and from what I know of both guys, I would go with Wilder, and I wouldn't be surprised if Wilder won by decision. You know what I mean? But let me see what happens in this Helenius fight, man. But I would love this fight, Wilder versus Andy Ruiz. Man, sign me up for that. Another way I think that Ruiz can give Deontay Wilder some trouble is if Ruiz is ready to throw punches when Deontay Wilder isn't ready. What do I mean by that? if they get into any type of clinch, instead of waiting until the referee breaks you up, kind of use what Tyson Fury was doing. And that's just, I know he doesn't have the height and he's not built like Fury to use some of those advantages the way Fury was doing, but you can still throw punches when Wilder isn't ready on the inside. Maybe he might be waiting for the ref to come break you guys. While he's doing that, you're just letting off shots. You know what I'm saying? Taking advantage of you being in close. Another way when Wilder isn't set to punch, because that's one thing about Andy, whether he's hurt, whether he gets rocked, he's always, for some reason, he's always set to punch again. You know what I'm saying? To counter back. He likes to catch and counter. He isn't, now when he hit AJ with that left hook, I know he rolled under and he came up with a left hook, but usually Andy, he wants to catch your punches with his gloves. Sometimes he catches it with his face, but he's always ready to punch back. He's always set to punch back. And to me, that comes down to, since, you know, he's been fighting since he was 7, 8 years old, man, 7 or 8 years old. So to me, that comes from the experience of just him fighting pretty much all his life. You know what I mean? Him just being, he's just trained to fire back. So maybe in a situation if Wilder throws a right hand and misses, and then Andy has to counter right then and there with 2s and 3s, 2 and 3 punch combinations. You know what I'm saying? But he's going to have to be set to punch at all times and let punches go when Wilder isn't ready to punch, right? That's how I see Andy Ruiz having some success against Deontay Wilder. But hey, man, let's see Wilder get past Robert Helenius, and then we'll go from there, man, if this fight's come to fruition, all right? But y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section, man. I'm gone.